Howdy folks, and welcome back to Elite Odyssey with the mighty Jingles. And in today's video, we're finally going to, well, not finally, I talked about this in Mingles with Jingles on Monday, but not everybody watches Mingles with Jingles, and the Elite fans tend to just watch the Elite videos. So, in today's video, I'm finally going to be talking, in an Elite video, about the problems with Elite Odyssey. To sum everything up right at the start, just so you know where we're going, this does not feel like it was ready for release. In fact, I'm seeing a lot of parallels between the release of Elite Odyssey and the release of Cyberpunk 2077, which was also clearly not ready for release, and was definitely rushed out to meet a marketing deadline. Cyberpunk 2077 was initially released to record-breaking sales and rave initial impressions, and then very quickly, like as soon as the day after release, the reality of what CD Projekt Red had published became apparent. And that's pretty much exactly what's happened with Elite Odyssey. On the day it was released, it went straight to the #1 spot in the Steam charts. Initial impressions, for those who were able to get in, were good. The problems with the servers were dismissed on launch day because it was launch day, but, well, very quickly, like the next day, the problems, the missing features, and the stuff that just really wasn't working properly at all soon became apparent. It did not feel like Elite should have published the Odyssey expansion on the date that they did. And I think it's pretty safe to say that I am far from being the only one to have this opinion. The bizarre thing is that Elite Odyssey launched immediately, or as near as immediately, after the end of the alpha test. There was no beta test. And there's no console release for Elite Odyssey yet either. That's still some months away in the future. So, I don't understand why they didn't follow up the alpha test with a beta test on what ended up being the release date. And then maybe working out all of the current problems under that beta test, and then having the release date coincide with the console release date. That, from a development perspective, in my mind at least, would make more sense. But the thing that we're beginning to understand about games development, in the wake of not just the Odyssey launch, but also things like the Cyberpunk 2077 launch, is that game developers have nothing to do with the decision about when a game gets published. That decision gets made by the publisher, and the publisher often has conflicting priorities with the development team, and so you have this sort of tug of war between the developers on one side, wanting more time and more money, and the publisher on the other side, insisting that they put a product onto the market so that the publisher can make their money back. In an ideal world, these two competing interests would balance each other out. Unfortunately, the truth of the matter is that the developers have no power and the publisher has all of it. So, yeah, games get published when they're not ready. Because of this, it's easy to cut the developers possibly more slack than they deserve. But in the case of Frontier Developments, here's what I don't understand. Because all of the concerns that were brought up in the alpha test, some of them have been addressed in the final release, but some of them haven't. And there's a whole bunch of new issues that weren't present in the alpha test. And here's the bizarre thing, because when these issues were raised in the alpha test, Frontier Development said, yep, it's okay. What you're playing is not the same version of the game that we're playing. The alpha test is actually an early version of the game build. We have a much more advanced internal development build that we're working on that doesn't contain any of these issues, and that's what's going to be published. But we are taking your feedback from the alpha into consideration, and any issues that you're encountering in the alpha that apply to our more advanced internal build will be taken care of prior to release. And then they released this. And yes, some of the issues that were present in the alpha have been addressed, but a lot of the issues that were present in the alpha have not been addressed. And there are now new issues in the release build that weren't present in the alpha, so there was no possibility to give any feedback on them. People are still having problems connecting to the servers. People are having problems joining multiplayer groups. They're able to join the groups, but they're not actually able to see any of the other players in the groups. I've personally had issues running missions that took an hour and a half to complete, and then upon returning to the mission giver, was unable to hand the mission in. Was able to get to a terminal where the complete mission button was lit up, but didn't matter how hard I pressed on it, nothing was happening. The following day, when the mission timer expired, the mission was deemed to have been failed, and I got fined 100,000 credits for the privilege. Then there's a new planet tech. Supposed to be one of the biggest things about Elite Odyssey. But, well, I mean, the sky looks nice, you can tell that there's an atmosphere. I'm seeing some light scattering, but the surface of the planet, it doesn't look any different to the way planetary surfaces looked in Horizons. I mean, we were promised this. We were promised this. And instead, we've got this. Honestly, aside from the atmospheric scattering, which does make for some very nice sky effects, but the actual planetary surfaces themselves, they don't look anything like what was promised. They don't look noticeably better than what we already had in Elite Horizons. I don't actually think the planetary tech is working at all, or if it is, they might want to turn it on. Then there are the performance and stability issues. And full disclosure, I've had a mostly perfectly playable, decent frame rate experience, although my frame rate has tanked in certain situations. But it's the seemingly arbitrary nature of the performance issues that's most puzzling, because people with potato PCs have been reporting great frame rates, and people with PCs that should absolutely not have any problems running Odyssey have been reporting frame rates tanking into the sub 20 FPS zone. These are just some of the issues, of course. I'm really only scratching the tip of the iceberg here. It's safe to say that this absolutely should not have been released on the 19th of May, and instead should have probably gone into beta test, with maybe the full release coinciding with the release of the console version. That would probably have made more sense. It would have given them time to work out the current issues before calling this a released product. But, well, once again, the publishers are the ones who decide when a game is ready for release and when it isn't, even if it isn't. However, having said all of that, and while in no way trying to defend Frontier developments here, I'm still playing it. I'm still coming back every day, and despite some of the issues, I am still enjoying it. In that regard, it's exactly like Cyberpunk 2077, which I thoroughly enjoyed, despite the bugs. Anyway, switching subjects. The more eagle-eyed observers amongst you may have already realised the significance of where I currently am in the video running in the background. I mentioned in the last video that Frontier Developments asked me that if I was given the chance to name a settlement in Odyssey, what name would I give it? Obviously I had to be sensible, and the name I came up with was Chatham Dock, in recognition of the original Royal Navy Royal Dockyard. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Chatham Dock. I found it. Well, I didn't find it, they told me where it was. I say, it's a big galaxy out there. There's something like 4 billion star systems. The chances of me accidentally stumbling across this place were slim to none. In response to the last video, a couple of you said, well, Jingles, just look the place up on the galaxy map, or on external websites like enquiries.cz or EDDB. Yeah, good, that would normally work, except not until somebody has actually visited the place. A couple of days ago, somebody excitedly informed me on the Salt Mines Discord server that Chatham Dock had been found. The location data was available on enquiries.cz, and yeah, I know, because I went there and uploaded my data to enquiries.cz afterwards. I was the one who found it. Well, even though, I didn't actually find it. Frontier Development said, do you want to know where it is? And I said, yes, please, because I'm never going to find it by myself. And so I was probably the first person to visit Chatham Dock, and since I regularly upload my pilot data to enquiries.cz, it didn't take too long before it appeared as a searchable settlement for everybody else. If you want to visit the place yourself, Principal Export Salt, it's located in the HIP 13564 system on the 5th planet in the system. Since while I was here I picked up some biological data while I was wandering around in the Artemis suit. I might as well see how much it's worth.
Data during your travels. Our scientists are keen for new data.
Holy shit. How much? 711,000 credits for one genetic sample. I'll take it. Wow. Oh, it was worth coming here after all. So, I guess it's time I wrapped this up and got to some kind of a point. Odyssey. Was it ready for release on the 19th of May? Hell no. Should the game have gone into an extended beta test rather than full release so that they could iron out the bugs and make sure all the systems worked? Hell yes. Am I attempting to defend Frontier developments here? No. They deserve all the shit they get and more. But at the same time, notwithstanding the absolute fact that they haven't delivered on everything that they said was going to be there in the release, and the game is in a pretty shitty state, I am still playing it every day. I am having fun, and I am making progress. I have all of my pressure suits upgraded to grade 2. I've got most of my weapons upgraded to grade 2. I've unlocked access to one of the engineers. The new engineers, by the way, the ones that deal with ground systems. And I'm well on the way to unlocking access to the other two. I'm still logging in every day, I'm still playing every day, and I am enjoying it. While in no way attempting to offer any kind of excuses for the current state of the game, I am still playing it in its current state, and I am enjoying it. I guess I'm just looking on the bright side, because things can only get better. It'd be difficult to see how they could make things much worse. Anyway, that's it for today. There will be future Elite videos coming, and hopefully things are going to start getting better. But I hope you've enjoyed this one, and as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.